So hello everyone. We have a special guest today. It's Mr. Mark Guiliana. We're very happy to have him here. So for the first question, I would like to ask you just like short introduction of yourself and how did you start, and just a brief introduction of yours.
Sure, yeah, thanks for having me. It's nice to be here. Started playing drums when I was 15, and there were no musicians in my family, so it was really just another thing to do. So it wasn't really until I started taking lessons that it became something that maybe I thought I could continue to do. My first teacher was Joe Bergamini, who was, I really owe it to him to have put me on a path to get to play music for a living. And I feel really lucky to have had such a great first teacher who gave me the tools to, make a life with the drums.
Cool. I would like to ask you about college years. I know that you went to William Patterson to work with John Riley. I also had some lessons with Riley,
Great.
who I really found like the most amazing educator in drum community ever.
Yes.
Like amazing. I would like to ask you, how did your college years look like? How much, like Jazz University is kind of special place, everybody is talking about transcription that, this and that. It's where it can be very hectic, at point. So I wanted to ask you how your college years look like. I think that these were probably the most formative years of the way you play. And how did your practice sessions look like, or how did you develop in those years? With John and starting relationship with Avishai?
Yeah, sure. So I grew up in New Jersey, and John, just outside of New York City, and John lived above the city. So even before college, I started taking lessons with him at his house. And with Joe, it was about very technical and the fundamentals and different styles. And as I got more interested in jazz, that's when it felt right to start with John, and we were really focusing on improvisation and all those things. So that sent me into university with a lot of energy for that. And I was practicing a lot, but it was much more about the playing. I think it was the first time that I was surrounded by great musicians and like-minded musicians. So I was practicing, but it was, again, I think what made me a better musician and helped me grow was by playing with the other musicians. So I think when I think back on college, that was the biggest benefit. So maybe, you hear stories of people practicing hours and hours and hours every day, and maybe that works for some people, but I was never a very disciplined practicer. So maybe I would play drums for 8 hours in a day, but maybe only one of those hours was practicing. And then I went to a class for 2 hours and played with an ensemble, and then went to a sound check for a show that night and played for an hour, and then played 2 hours on the show, whatever that adds up to. So it was always a balance between the practicing and the playing, but again, always with the emphasis on the playing. That's, I didn't start, this may sound silly, but I didn't start playing drums to practice. I started playing to play. And it's only ever been about the playing. And then I quickly realized that I need to be doing the work in order to play the way I was wishing for. So the work and the practice is very important, but it's only a reaction to the playing, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, to your point, John is incredible. I feel lucky to have spent that time with him. So for me to go from Joe to John in those early years, very lucky.
Yeah. And then you started kind of relationship with Avishai?
With Avishai.
Right?
So the school was just outside of New York City, so we would be in the city every night listening to music and going to shows. And my roommate was a bass player who had taken a couple lessons with Avishai. We were always at his shows in the front row, mostly Jeff Ballard playing drums was one of my heroes. and I was sitting this far from him every night. I was the annoying kid right next to the drums, you know, and just by trying to be cool, I'm kind of shy, so I just wanted to be around them and be in the same room. And slowly over time, we became friends, and that organically led to playing together.
Yeah. And what was your approach when you first, you started with trio, and when it started all this, mixed meter situations, when you have things that cannot really fit into 6/4 or 4/4 and these kind of situations. How did you really develop your language side of that? Because you have a very, very big flexibility, with Dhaferom and also with Avishai. This music is like to keep concentration at this high level for a very long time. How did you approach it first? I understand that now you have a certain language and after time you develop it, but at the first, when you were given the first tune with kind of this, what was your approach? Did you took some fives and then, did some ostinatos over them and then try to develop other limbs, or you found some other way to do it? How did you at the first approach this?
Sure. So even before playing with Avishai, before I was even in a musical situation with odd meters, maybe with John, we would work on 7, we would work on 5, but there was no musical context, so it was just theoretical.
Exactly. Yeah.
Which was helpful, but can only get so far. Lots of listening, but it wasn't until playing this music that it started to happen. And I feel lucky to have played with Avishai because the songs are really strong. The writing, I really like his music. And he would never write anything down. So I learned how to read. I can read and do all that, but there's something specifically with odd meters when you see them for me, when I see 11/8, immediately my mind says I can't play that. It's immediately for me harder than it even before I've heard a note. It feels like it's something that is less comfortable. So I didn't realize it in the moment, but it became an advantage with Avishai that it was never written down. So he would just sit at the piano and start to play. So I really made an effort to not try to count.
Okay.
Because the melodies are beautiful and the chord progressions are very emotional. So I was just trying to let the music in to my body without trying to worry about what it is. And that single-handedly, I think, was the door to being able to play the songs. And then later that's this 5 plus this thing, but who cares? It's because when I heard him play it, it did not sound like numbers. It just sounded like an organic statement. So the last thing I wanted to do was add numbers to this piece, So again, the biggest advantage was I wasn't playing odd meters. I was playing songs.
Music, yeah.
So that just so happened to be in these organized in a little different way, but and then and I got more and more comfortable. I was with Avishai for a little more than 6 years, and then by the time with Dhaferom, which was even more fucked up, I was like, okay,
that is.
I think I can figure this out. So but again, the answer is almost similar to the practicing, the college. It's just everything came from the playing. The practicing is important, but it got me halfway, maybe.
Of course not.
And then the musical situation, okay, now it's starting to happen.
And Nate Wood has a good analogy, like practicing is like making something out of clay and then like playing it on stage, you kind of bake it,
Interesting.
Like,
yeah, think of it like a bridge. If the music is like an island, and you're practicing on the land, different land, and you're trying to get to the music at home, you're building this bridge, but there's no way to really build it completely.
Yeah, of course.
At some point, there's going to be a distance, and you have to jump, and hopefully you make it.
Yeah. So, but do you sometimes feel like the common denominators subdivision like in between, if you have like mixed meter,
Yes,
especially with your left foot, I think
Sure,
you always are counting. You're not counting, but like feeling.
So the most important thing is to identify what subdivision will never need to change.
Exactly.
Yeah. So you identify the rate that will be consistent, and that becomes an anchor, and then you just organize around that. Yeah.
Okay. So you are using kind of that approach also when.
Yes, and at first maybe that subdivision is very prominent in my mind, very loud, and over time it gets quieter and quieter.
Yeah. Okay. So I guess with Dhafer was kind of similar with Avishai, a lot of like this mixed meter combination, even crazy. Really.
Yeah. Similar and different. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
There was a funny moment. He was like playing just very near here, like a couple of months ago, and they started to play one of these tunes that we played. I don't know which one, but like very complicated one. And he looked to drummer and he said, "Today," and I was like, "No."
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I mean, he started to play the melody, and everyone like, "Oh yeah, this is the tune." The guy was like, "Not today."
Oh, funny.
We're funny. Yeah.
I miss him. I haven't seen him in a long time. So.
Yeah. Okay, and at which point did you decide to like leave Avishai? I mean, like, did you feel like you need to move on to something else, or like how this decision? I mean, his very strong identity.
No. I love him, and we have since been playing together on and off, and but in that moment, the beauty of his band is that it's very busy. There's so much work. There's so many shows every year. And I think that's how the music got to the place it got to. But it meant that as I started to get asked to do other things, I wasn't able to. So it was just wishing to say some different things musically, and then starting to work on my own music too.
And how... and for example, with him we play with Tigran and
with Dhafer.
Yeah. And how like how playing, for example, with Tigran with like more like a acoustic piano situation differs from like Donnyjem McCaslinom, which is like high intensity saxophone situation. I think the language is kind of similar. It's not that far away, but you have to have a kind of a different approaches because piano is like really more dynamic instrument. I mean, in terms of like dynamics and probably how do you orchestrate maybe some things, do you have like different approaches or it's the same approach?
Not really. I think at the core, it's the same approach. Maybe the instrument changes a little bit. The tuning might change accordingly, or the tools might change, but the approach is the same. Yeah.
Okay. And how do you feel? For example, Tigran has like a high density rhythmic vocabulary, and when you're accompanying him, I mean, what are you thinking? Are you trying to get more out of the way and then provoke some situations? And how do you...
Yeah, it really depends on the material. I think he's incredible, and he thinks like a drummer, so it's really fun to have musical conversations with him. And every moment is different. Sometimes you join, sometimes you let him have it, sometimes he gives me space. I think it's the same as any improvised moment in regards to the most important thing is listening. But again, I've played Tigran's music sometimes a little bit, but with Dhafer, the songs had so much information in them that most of the time I needed to accommodate the song and be more supportive and try to lift him up.
Okay. And how was like your journey with whole beat music thing? I mean, how do you develop sound with like with Jason and Tim and all these guys? I mean, like,
when I was in college, I got really into electronic music, and that's a big influence. And most of the musical situations I was a part of were acoustic situations. So that was kind of a reaction to wishing to put my stamp on a more electronic environment. And Tim and Jason are friends, and they're the perfect guys,
Yeah,
So I really learned a lot from playing with them, and yeah, I'm grateful to have different outputs. You know, it allows me to focus the energy. When I was younger, I tried to put all of my influences into one place, and that no one wants to hear that. You know, that's that's not a great recipe. So this allows me to kind of be patient and yeah, try to just give whatever situation only what it needs and not force some other influences in.
And I was working with Pana on bass. I think he's very amazing. I played a little bit with him.
Cool.
He like threw me immediately off. You know, like,
I mean, it's interesting. It's like in some ways, Tigran, Pana, in some ways maybe they could be challenging to play with, but they're also very easy to play with in the sense that it's so clear and so confident, and it's always there. So if you can just jump on, you're in good shape.
Do you guys ever practice together with this stuff, or it's more like?
Never outside of the context of the music. So just rehearsing the music and playing. Again, it's the playing. It's on stage that the real stuff is happening.
No, just...
No, but not just for you, for whoever is inside there, you know.
Okay, and then I would like to ask you about your relationship with David Bowie, of course, and how this whole thing happened and how it developed into what we know now as a Black Star.
Yeah, well, it all started from his relationship with Maria Schneider, who's a great composer, band leader in New York. He was a fan of hers, and he asked her if she would collaborate on a song, and I got invited to be a part of that. So it was David with her band, and that was just one song that came out on like a best of recording. And then he wanted to do more with her, and she said, "Oh, you should just do it with these guys," you know. And she brought him to. We were playing a show in New York, so he came to see us. And then, he sent some music over, and we went into the studio. It was very. It's a very normal story of we got recommended. And then he came and heard us. He heard something that I guess could be useful to him. And then we find ourselves in the studio. Mm-hmm. And I'm just so grateful to be a part of the album and learn so much from him. It was just an incredible experience. So still very, very surreal.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how did you develop your relationship with guys like, for example, some drummer-wise oriented more, like Nate Wood? I mean, like, you kind of have a similar idea rhythmically wise, you know, but it's interesting how you develop probably not knowing from each other.
Yeah, actually, because Nate was in Los Angeles at least through our 20s. I don't remember exactly when we met, but he didn't move to New York until a little later. And we realized that we were on similar paths without realizing it. But that's all because we had similar influences and a similar recipe, you know. But he's one of one. He's very, very special. Yeah, he's amazing.
For sure, yeah. And also with Zach, probably. Yeah,
Zach was much more of a, he was just a really big influence on me. He's not quite 10 years older than me, but definitely the generation above me. So when I was a student, I'd go hear him a lot. And again, it was that organic story of just hanging out, and then eventually turning into a friendship. But yeah, very big influence.
Yeah. Okay, and then, I mean, what are some things that you're looking forward now? I mean, you have a new album with your composition.
Yeah.
Compositions, which is kind of interesting because probably we all drummers are kind of afraid of that territory, you know, especially when you play with like high skilled players, you know, you're kind of afraid. How did you feel about that, you know, relationship of, okay, now I'm composing music?
Yeah, I mean, over the years, composition has become more of a focus.
Mm-hmm.
And it took a long time. I'm still working on it to get over the fear. But you know, it's kind of fun to, I don't totally know what I'm doing, and that's kind of the point. In some ways, it's much more rewarding when something happens that you like than with drums, because drums, you do all this work and then you know what's going to happen, you know? And there's something about being in the early stages of a path that's quite exciting.
Uh-huh.
So I think, you know, we're all just making this up. No one knows what they're doing. So I'm allowed to not know what I'm doing, you know? I think, isn't that the point, you know? So this is my favorite record that I've made, and there's no drums on it. And for me, that doesn't even seem like strange. You know, this is the music that I am hearing right now, you know? So I think and I'm already halfway done with the next beat music record, and I already have ideas for this thing. So it's all about the forward momentum.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no one record that will you know, be the one document for me. I think for me it's the big picture and the accumulation of the work. Yeah. Like, for example, I was just now I'm not, in no way am I comparing myself, but this is just sidebar. I was in Vienna a couple days ago, and I went to Mozart's grave, and then I was doing more research on Mozart, and he was only 35 when he passed away, and all this thing. And you just think about the life's work. It's not, maybe there are certain melodies that we might think of first, but I think no one piece is more important than the big body of work, you know? And maybe in the moment there was one that stood out, or when, you know, or people liked more than another in the moment. But I think how lucky are we to have all of it to reflect on, and I think it requires all of it to tell the story of him, you know.
Robert wants to ask you about your relationship with Brad, you know, especially with MEHLIANA.
Mm-hmm.
I hope I'm pronouncing it right.
Yeah.
What is your approach with Red? I mean, he quoted "Just Call Me Nige," which is amazing. This live clip is amazing.
Cool.
And you really, from the, you know, first moment you go in, and then it's, you know, what is your approach with him, you know, when doing stuff like that? Because he's also a very strong musical personality.
He's one of my favorite musicians long before I met him, and still he's in the very, very top of the small list. I feel really connected to his music, and it was such a great opportunity to play with him, especially in a duo setting. So I knew his music so well, and his choices so well, that I think I was able to just, again, get on. Just, it's all there. So all you got to do is just get in, and then if you don't disrupt that feeling, then you can really have fun, you know. So the connection was formed fairly quickly, and we did a lot of playing, and the project started completely improvised. So it was just all about being in the moment and really making sure we're connected. So very fun.
Do you even moderate yourself while playing that? It's you know, do you think in this try to leave more space, leave less space, or you just go for it in a moment?
On a good night, there is no thinking. I'll say that, because the music is constantly asking you what it needs, or telling you what it needs. So I think the more connected you could be to that, the better. I think the thinking is sometimes helpful, but not always.
No. And the last question is, of course, what do you think about this whole talent/work thing? You know, do you believe in talents? I mean, John Riley has a good quote that he thinks like the talent actually gives you will to work on something, which I kind of like.
Yeah, he says the gift is that you want to do the work.
To do it, yeah.
Yeah, so I think the work we all, well, I would say, over time, I used to be more interested in the execution of things, like the actual playing, and now more and more it's just the ideas themselves, that excite me. So the ideas don't necessarily require a specific amount of technique or a specific amount of work. I think sometimes if we focus on technique first, it can actually inhibit the ideas. You might have lots of technique, but the ideas are the second thought,
Yeah.
So for me, my favorite musicians, it just feels like there's an idea and then they happen to have the technique to express it. I heard a great Jack DeJohnette interview where he talks about in different words, he's saying you only need the technique to play your own ideas. So for me it's more about the ideas, and that I think is not always something that can be technically achieved in a technical way.
I know what you mean.
So that to me comes more from a abstract. That's the more abstracted world that I can't speak to. But that intrigues me, a lot of my favorite drummers have really bad technique but they got it out of their body somehow, but the work is very important, and hopefully you get to a place where you can say what you want to say.
Yeah. Thank you very much. And
my pleasure.
That's it. Thank you.
Cool.
This final piece is called Play More.
everybody.